This is your Classical Break, your daily dose of classical music. I'm Tyler Alderson, and today we'll be starting to listen to Mendelssohn's Italian Symphony, his fourth symphony. We'll hear the first and second movements today, and we'll finish up with the second and third movements tomorrow. Like many young men in his day, Mendelssohn spent a few years traveling around Europe, soaking up the cultures and visiting the places he read about in books. His Scottish Symphony came from the earlier part of that trip, as Mendelssohn walked around the setting of his favorite Walter Scott novels. While walking around the ruins of Holyrood Palace, where Mary, Queen of Scots, lived and was crowned, he came up with the dark, beguiling theme that begins that symphony. Mendelssohn found inspiration in Scotland, but he really took to Italy, spending a total of 10 months there. Everything about it was fascinating, starting with the weather even. Rather than the clouds and cool temperatures that he was used to in northern Germany, he found blue skies and hot summer days, with everyone out and about to take full advantage. From Rome to Venice to Naples, Mendelssohn enjoyed his trip thoroughly. And not just the wonderful music that he heard along the way. The architecture, art, and rolling countryside all made an impression on him, as did the history that's seemingly around every corner in Italy. He was actually a pretty decent amateur artist, as well as being a great composer, and his notes from the trip include sketches and watercolor paintings of the various scenes he encountered along the way. Even though their inception was only a few months apart, there's very little of the grim, brooding Scottish symphony in this Italian one. On the contrary, Mendelssohn remarked that, quote, "It may be the jolliest piece I have ever done." He even found it hard to concentrate on that darker symphony while traveling in a warm, sunny climate, saying, quote, "The loveliest time of the year in Italy is the period from April 15 to May 15. Who then can blame me for not being able to return to the mists of Scotland?" The mystique of the moody artist may have been the popular image to cultivate at the time, but Mendelssohn was just too happy in Italy to care. This symphony is like those watercolors he painted, with vivid depictions of life in Italy. It opens with a burst of woodwinds and a skipping theme in the strings that suggests a frolicking springtime scene. There are a couple of storms thrown in for drama, but the bubbly nature of the opening theme reigns over the first movement. The second was inspired by the solemn religious processions that Mendelssohn saw. He was intrigued by the monks who seemed so ubiquitous in the very Catholic country, writing that, quote, "They seem to have taken entire possession of all this splendid country, and form a strange melancholy ground tone for all that is lively, gay, and free, and the ever-living cheerfulness bestowed by nature. It is as if men on that very account required a counterpoise." The second movement forms that balance with the first, although it's not so much sad or melancholy as serious and graceful. Again, Mendelssohn just couldn't spoil his good mood. Here's the Musopen Symphony with the first two movements of Mendelssohn's Italian Symphony. The scenes Mendelssohn painted in those two movements are so vivid you can just about see that procession slowly fading away into the Italian night. Thanks to the Musopen Symphony for putting that up on musopen.org, and thank you for listening. If you have the chance, please rate and review this podcast wherever it is that you're getting it. I'm Tyler Alderson, and tomorrow we'll be finishing up with Mendelssohn's Italian Symphony. I'll see you then.